I remember you guys mentioning anxiety separation. He just has to learn that, like, I'm leaving him at the daycare and I'll come back. But it's been a few months now and he still hasn't learned that I'll be back. So what can I do?
Does he cry the whole time?
No, he doesn't. But like, they have trouble just removing his boots and his jacket off. Like, he will stay like that for like a half an hour, 45 minutes. He won't let them touch him. Like, we went through a phase when he was crying, throwing himself on the ground, throwing up. That's how upset he would get. Then that calmed down, but now it's like you can't take off his boots or his coat.
It sounds to me like it's calming down though, and that it's taking him a long time to feel okay with it. But if he's crying for about a half an hour and then he's kind of going on and having an okay day, I would actually count that as a success. Now, there are some things that you can do to help ease the transition, right? I mean, you could, depending upon his level of language and so on, you can kind of, you can sort of prime him for that. Mommy's going to drop you off and then mommy comes back. You play with, you sort of give him an idea of what his schedule is, right? So that would be a good opportunity to put in a visual schedule. It's drop-off time followed by whatever they do at 9 o'clock, followed by, because they have a very clear schedule at daycare, I'm sure, right? So if he knows what's coming, the teachers can help say, okay, you know, it's after, when you get here, this is what we do next. And my sense is he probably, with time, it'll just be, right now it's a habit that he has to cry when you drop, and it's not fun as a parent to leave him under those circumstances, but he's okay. Like, he's gonna be okay. It's actually okay for kids to cry, and if he's, you know, eventually he'll figure out that that you're coming.
When you start being very concerned about it? Sometimes there are days when he doesn't want to get out of the car. Like, you can't unbuckle him.
I would be concerned about it, but I'm concerned about it for the other reason. I'd be concerned about not transitioning him into that environment. He may be, lots of children with autism develop anxieties, and generally speaking, the higher functioning a child is, the more anxious, the more confident we can be that that child's going to have a lot of anxiety throughout their life. Right now, he's still littler than you, and you have a fair amount of control over his everyday life, right? So he has to learn that it's okay. Like, the transition is gonna happen and we're all gonna survive. It's very hard as a parent because the last thing you wanna do is place this child who already has problems of one sort or another into an environment where he seems so miserable when you leave. But if he was crying all day, I would say, okay, they're not handling it well and there's something that needs to be done. But if he's like, it's normal for like a typically developed, when I was a daycare teacher and I had to work with parents who were afraid to drop their kids off, like in September when nursery school started, we'd have a bunch of kids crying for 45 minutes and it was meltdown city. And then the typically developing kid, it gets shorter and shorter, it resolves itself in a few weeks, and then it's all fine. A child with autism is harder to transition from one of those scenarios to the next. So it's just going to take him longer, but he's going to be okay. As long as you're reasonably confident that something horrible is not happening with him in that environment, you know.
But I do like the idea of giving him pictures. So you have a picture of the daycare, you show him the picture of the daycare. We're going to go to daycare now. It's time to go to daycare. He can hold on to his daycare picture in the seat. You get to the daycare and then you show him a picture of the teacher. Let's go in and see the teacher, so he knows what's coming next each step of the way.
And when he does get there, he can, I'm sorry, Robin, he can have, if he's able to play with a toy that he likes. Sorry, I just jumped in.
That's okay.
So they can, sometimes what we'll suggest to the daycare teacher is have his favorite toy from the daycare ready, or a little box of favorite toys that he really likes. The first thing he goes to once it's done, maybe that can be ready for him at the door. Yeah. So sometimes that will reduce because he'll be like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, I carry his favorite toys with me. Like, literally, I'm like a traveling van. Yeah, I have everything in my car. So like, he goes to the daycare with his own things.
Oh, so they let him.
So they let him. They're very comprehensive. Oh, they're very nice when it comes to that. So he literally can, like, bring his own lunch because he just refuses to eat their food. So. But yeah, we have everything, the toys, the lunchbox, but it's just like, I'm like, how long are you supposed to let this go on like this? Like, after a certain period.
Well, you might want to try to tweak it. I mean, there's, in addition to the strategies that were just mentioned, you could consider having certain toys that you know that he likes only be available to him at the daycare, so that it's enticing for him. They're waiting for him. He has his own special box at the daycare, and once he gets his coat off, that's when he can play with them, right? Because right now there's no incentive for him. He's got his toy in the car. He's got it at home. He's got it, you know.
Yeah, it's too available. Yes. One thing sometimes that I'll say also to help with the transition, it depends on the level of understanding. Again, I'm not sure, I don't know, but one example that sometimes I'll use is I'll give them a choice. So to go from the car to the building, I'll say, well, do you want mommy to hold your hand or pick up today? So I'm giving, you still have to get there. So I didn't say, do you want to go to daycare? I gave a choice. So he can pick how we're going to get there. Or should we jump like froggies today, or should we skip? Or, you know, like you can give a choice, something that can be fun, potentially eventually fun. At first it's not going to be fun, but give him choices about how we're going to get to the daycare, you know. So, and even I have some kids who they really like roads and road maps, and they know all the names of the streets. So should we go by Prince of Wales today, or do you want to go by Riverside? Or, you know, like some of my higher, you know, very interesting. So then they forget that they're worried about the car trip to get there, and they start planning your route. No, left here, mommy. Oh, okay. So, and then they decide the route for the daycare. So just little things like that you can plan, or what music do you want in the car today, or whatever you can use that can also redirect the attention from the anxiety of whatever he's afraid of. Can help. Not all the time, but it can help. So I hope those are helpful.
You were mentioning like the visual social stories. I can't say enough about going to the public library, talking to the children's librarians. They've got books on everything. They've got board books, they've got picture books, they've got story books for just about any situation that you can imagine for your kid.
I'm sure they have one called I Go to Daycare.
They have at least 3 in both languages. So it's a really fantastic resource. Plus it's an outing, which is fun, and it's free, which is great. And it's such a fantastic resource.
You don't have to buy Board Maker, which is a picture printing thing. Make your own social stories, laminate them. Sometimes you can find free information.